The captive in the cargo bay Rylan was a simple cargo pilot. He worked alone, flying from one starport to another, delivering supplies, fuel cells, or sometimes strange boxes he wasn't allowed to open. He never asked questions. That was the rule. No questions, no trouble. But that day, something was different. He landed at a remote outpost on a quiet moon. The place was cold, dusty, and lifeless. Only 3 guards stood outside. One of them gave Rylan a datapad and told him, "Load. The crate's inside. No scanning. No peeking." Rylan nodded. Understood. He carried the first crate up the ramp, then the second, then the third. But when he picked up the 4th crate, he froze. Something moved inside. It was soft, just a thump. Then he heard it again. Thump, thump, thump. Rylan frowned. Maybe it was an animal, or machinery shaking. But as he leaned close, he heard something that made his heart stop. Breathing. Ragged, slow breathing, like someone trying not to cry. He looked around. The guards weren't watching. Quietly, Rylan slid the crate into the back corner of his cargo bay and locked the door from the inside. His hands shook as he pressed the emergency release switch. The lid hissed open slowly. What he saw inside made him step back in shock. It was a girl, an alien girl. She was chained, dirty, and thin. Her skin had a soft golden glow, but her arms were bruised and her lips were dry. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. Her long hair stuck to her face, and her eyes, huge, purple, and glowing faintly, were full of fear. She stared at him. Silent, Rylan raised his hands. "I won't hurt you." She didn't believe him. She crawled back into the crate's corner like a trapped animal. The chains on her ankles clinked. She had been treated like cargo. Rylan stepped closer and knelt down. "Can you understand me?" She didn't answer. Slowly, he placed a water pouch near her feet and slid a small protein bar into the crate. Her eyes flicked between him and the food. Then, very carefully, she reached out and grabbed the pouch. Her hands were shaking. She drank, like she hadn't tasted water in years. When she finished, she looked up. Her lips opened and her voice came out broken and hoarse. "Don't hurt me. My body is strong, human. I'll give you strong children. Just don't hurt me." Rylan's chest tightened. He felt sick. "What did you say?" he asked quietly. She lowered her eyes. "That's what they want. Strong females. For strong babies. That's why I was taken." He sat down hard, unable to believe what he was hearing. Someone had locked this woman in a crate, to be sold as breeding stock. "Who did this to you?" She didn't answer. She only looked at the chains. Rylan stood up and grabbed his toolkit. "I'm getting you out of there." "No," she said quickly, shrinking back. "If they see me free, they'll kill you." He hesitated, but then he shook his head. "Let them try." It took a few minutes, but he unlocked the chains. Her wrists were red, her ankles were raw. He gently helped her out of the crate. She stood on shaky legs and looked at him like he was some kind of dream. "You're not going to sell me?" She whispered. "No. Use me? Never." "Then why?" "Because no one should be treated like this." She fell silent. Her body swayed. Rylan caught her before she hit the floor. He laid her gently on a soft blanket and wrapped another around her shoulders. Her eyes stayed on him the entire time, watching every move as if waiting for him to change. He didn't. When she finally fell asleep, he sat near the crate, staring into space. He didn't know what he had just gotten himself into. But one thing was clear. He wasn't going to let her be cargo ever again. The wounds beneath her skin, when the alien girl woke up, she didn't scream. She opened her eyes slowly, blinking at the dim cargo light above her. Her body was stiff. Her muscles hurt. But she was warm and wrapped in a soft blanket. That wasn't normal. She sat up quickly, breathing fast. Her heart pounded as her eyes scanned the ship. Where was the man? Rylan appeared from behind a crate, holding a steaming cup of something. That smelled sweet. "You're awake," he said gently. "It's just tea. Won't hurt you." He handed it to her carefully, like someone offering food to a frightened animal. She stared at the cup, then at him. Her hands were still trembling when she took it. She sipped slowly. Warmth spread through her chest. She hadn't tasted anything like it before. Rylan sat a few steps away and said nothing for a while. He didn't ask questions. He didn't stare at her the way others used to. Finally, she spoke in a quiet, flat voice. "My name was Sarila." But they didn't use names, just numbers. Rylan nodded. "Sarila, that's a beautiful name." She frowned. "Names are useless when you're only meant to breed." Rylan's expression darkened. He leaned back. "Who told you that?" "The ones who bought me. They said I was a warrior class. Strong genes. Not weak like the others." She pulled the blanket tighter. "They put me in training camps as a child. I fought until I was broken. Then they sold me to men who wanted strong children." Rylan clenched his fists but said nothing. Sarila's voice was empty now. "I was sold 4 times. Each time they said I wasn't soft enough. I bit the last one when he tried to touch me. That's when they decided to ship me somewhere else far away, where no one would ask questions." She glanced at him. You didn't touch me." "I never will," he said. She looked confused. "Why? You're human. You own this ship. You could have." "I don't want to hurt you." Her eyes widened as if that idea had never crossed her mind before. Rylan stood up and walked to a wall panel. He opened it, revealing a small med kit. "You've got bruises. May I help?" She hesitated, then slowly nodded. He sat beside her and carefully pulled back part of the blanket to expose her arm. There were deep red bruises across her skin. Her veins were a soft silver beneath the gold. He applied cream gently, speaking in a calm voice. "This will help with pain." Sarila stared at him as if trying to solve a puzzle. "You're different." "Not really," he said. "Just human." "No," she replied. "You're not like the others. You don't look at me like I'm something to own." Rylan smiled sadly. "That's because I don't." Silence filled the ship. The hum of the engine was soft. The stars outside blinked quietly in the dark. After a few moments, Sarila whispered, "I don't know how to be anything else." He looked at her. "Anything else, like what?" She struggled to find words. "Free, safe, not afraid. You don't have to figure it all out right now," he said softly. "Just rest, heal, and when you're ready, we'll decide what comes next." Sarila's eyes glistened with silent tears. She quickly wiped them away. She was used to pain, used to fear. But kindness? That was new. That was strange. She curled into the blanket and closed her eyes. For the first time in her life, she fell asleep without fear of what would happen when she woke up. Rylan sat beside her crate and watched her breathing slow. He didn't know who would come looking. He didn't know what he would say if someone knocked on his hatch. But he knew one thing. He would protect her, even if the whole galaxy tried to stop him. Secrets of the breeder. Trade Sarila was still sleeping when Rylan slipped into the cockpit. He didn't want to wake her. Her body needed rest. And her mind, gods, her mind had probably been through worse than any battlefield. He stared out the glass window at the stars. They drifted past in silence, but Rylan's thoughts were loud. Something about her story didn't leave his mind. A warrior-class female used as breeding stock? That didn't make sense. She had strength, intelligence, pride, even if it was buried deep. Why would they chain her up like some product? Rylan opened the crate's log on his terminal. The outpost hadn't let him scan it earlier, but now that he had access, he wasn't letting this go. Log file 239X, transport of bioasset, genetic class Phi, combat fertility candidate. His jaw clenched. He scrolled further. Dozens, no hundreds of entries appeared. Asset number 112. Female. Species. Harati. Notes. High fertility. Minimal aggression. Asset number 225. Male. Species Juvan. Notes. Aggressive. Rejected. Asset number 308. Female. Species Harati. Notes. Strong musculature. High breeding value. That last one had a small tag on it. Sold. Transported to Sector R9. Awaiting buyer. Ryland's blood ran cold. That was Sarila. He stared at the words. Breeding value. Awaiting buyer. These weren't records, they were price tags. He scrolled further and saw something even worse. A live tracking beacon buried deep in the manifest. It was tied to her life signs. He stood up fast. She was still being tracked. He rushed to the storage bay and opened the emergency locker. Inside was a pulse jammer, meant to block signals during stealth landings. He activated it and ran back to her. Sarila sat up, blinking. She had heard the alarm from the cockpit. "What's wrong?" she asked, voice hoarse. Ryland sat beside. They're tracking you, even now, through a signal hidden in your crate's records." Her face went pale. "So, they're coming." "Yes. And soon." Sarila looked down at her arms. "They always find me." Ryland touched her shoulder gently. "Not this time." He showed her the pulse jammer and explained what he'd done. She nodded but didn't seem convinced. She whispered, "They don't stop. They don't forget. Then we'll give them something to fear," he said quietly. She looked up. "Why are you doing this?" Ryland hesitated. He thought about it. The truth was, he didn't know. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was just seeing someone who deserved better. "You were never cargo," he said. "And I won't. Let them treat you like it again." Sarila's voice broke. "You speak as if I matter." "You do." For a long moment she said nothing. Then she whispered, "My mother used to say, the stars carry stories. Maybe now mine will change." Ryland smiled. "Then let's write a new one." Later that night, while Sarila slept again, Ryland copied the entire breeder file to his private logs. He sent a hidden message to someone he trusted, an old contact in the Galactic Watchdogs, a secret group that exposed illegal trades and protected victims. But he knew it was risky. If the breeders found out, they wouldn't just want Sarila back, they'd want him gone too. Still, he hit send. When he turned around, Sarila was standing, silently behind him. "I heard," she said. "You're trying to help others." "I have to," he answered. "I can't save them all. But I can start with you." Sarila walked forward slowly. Her eyes shimmered in the soft light. "You were never part of my story, Ryland," she whispered. "But maybe you were the ending I needed." He didn't say anything, but he knew this was no longer about just saving one life. It was about stopping the ones who thought life could be sold, and they had just made a very serious mistake. They left her in the hands of a human. Who cared? The hunters arrive. 2 days passed. Sarila was stronger now. She walked without stumbling. Her bruises were fading, and her glow, soft golden light beneath her skin, had returned. Ryland gave her clean clothes and set up a private space in the back of the ship. She even smiled once, just once. But that smile vanished the moment the alarm blinked red. Incoming ship. No call sign. Silent approach. Ryland stared at the screen. It was a small, fast craft, equipped with cloaking, the kind smugglers and bounty hunters used. He didn't need confirmation. They had found her. He ran to the back. Sarila was already standing. Her eyes locked onto the blinking red light. "They're here," she said, voice steady, but her fingers shook. Ryland gave her a stun pistol. "Stay hidden. If they come through, you shoot and run. Understand?" She didn't take the weapon. "No," she said. "They'll kill you if I run." "They'll kill us both if we don't do something," he replied. Sarila stepped closer. I won't leave you. Then let's fight together. The first explosion rocked the ship from the left. They had landed. Rylan pulled open the floor, panel beneath the cockpit. It led to a hidden crawl space. He turned to Cirilla. Now, get in. But, no argument. Go. She crawled in, but not before whispering, Don't die, Rylan. He closed the panel and turned to the door. His blaster was ready. When the hatch blew open, smoke filled the bay. 3 figures walked through, black armor, glowing visors, and stun batons in hand. Step aside, pilot, one said. That female belongs to the Breeder Council. Rylan didn't move. She doesn't belong to anyone. Wrong answer. The lead hunter raised his weapon. Rylan shot first. The stun beam hit the hunter's chest and knocked him back. The other 2 charged forward. Rylan dodged the first strike, blasting one in the leg. But the third one tackled him hard, sending his blaster flying. They rolled on the floor, fists slamming, boots scraping. One of the hunters grabbed him by the neck and lifted him. You'll die for this human. But before he could strike, Cirilla exploded from the floor. She moved like a lightning bolt. Her fists slammed into the hunter's side. She twisted, flipped, and kicked with a precision no human could match. The hunter crashed into the wall and dropped. Cirilla turned to the last one. He raised his baton. You were made to obey, she snarled. I was made to survive. She moved faster than his weapon. Her elbow slammed into his face. He dropped to the ground. Silence returned to the ship. Rylan coughed and looked up. Remind me never to get on your bad side. Cirilla helped him up. Her hands were warm. Her eyes, glowing brighter now, were filled with something new. Pride. I told you, she said softly. I'm not weak. I never thought you were. They dragged the unconscious hunters into the cargo bay and locked them in a crate. Rylan activated the jammer again and sent out a false distress signal to mislead any other trackers. Cirilla sat down, breathing heavily. They'll send more. Then we keep moving. She looked at him. You fought for me. You fought for me first. Cirilla shook her head. No, that wasn't me. That was the girl they trained. She touched her chest. But what I did for you, that was the real me. Rylan knelt beside her. Then I'm honored to meet the real you. She smiled again. It was stronger than before. A warrior's heart. Awakens Rylan's ship floated through the stars, silent and hidden. The pulse jammer kept the tracking signals blocked, and the false coordinates had misled the hunters. For now they were safe. But something inside the ship was changing too. Cirilla stood in front of the mirror in the small washroom. Her golden skin was healing. Her bruises were fading. The long cut on her cheek was nearly gone. But it wasn't her body she was studying, it was her eyes. For the first time, they didn't look empty. For the first time, she saw herself, not as property, but as someone free. She touched the mirror and whispered, Who am I now? Rylan found her a few minutes later sitting at the ship's table. He placed a bowl of soup in front of her and sat across from her. You haven't said much since we left. She stared into the soup. I'm not used to quiet. He nodded. Do you miss anything? She thought for a while, then shook her head. I've never had anything to miss. They ate in silence for a moment, then she looked up. You're not like others. Because I cook? He smiled. No, because you listen. You don't look at me like I'm broken. You're not broken. Cirilla looked away. I was trained to fight, then trained to obey. Now I don't know how to be anything else. Then let's learn together. She looked at him with surprise. You mean that? I do. That night Rylan showed her the flight controls. She was curious. Her fingers moved gently across the switches. You trust me with your ship? She asked. He laughed. I trust you more than myself some days. She blushed. The golden glow under her skin shimmered brighter. For the next few days, Rylan trained her how to fix engines, how to plot a safe route, how to hide from trackers. She learned fast. Her warrior mind adapted quickly, but he also saw something else growing in her. Gentleness. One night after checking the ship's systems, Rylan returned to find something waiting for him. A small cloth pouch sat on his bunk. Inside was a hand-woven bracelet made of threads pulled from her old tattered robe. It wasn't perfect, but it was neat, strong, and warm. He looked up at Sarila, who stood quietly near the door. "I wanted to give you something," she said. "You gave me everything." Rylan walked over and tied the bracelet around his wrist. "Thank you." She smiled softly. "I don't know how to show kindness, but I'm trying. You're doing better than most people I know." She stepped closer. "I used to dream about being free, but I never thought I'd feel safe. You gave me both." Rylan looked into her glowing eyes. "You gave me a reason to care again." She touched his chest gently. "I was made to give life, Rylan. But now, if I choose to, it won't be because someone told me to. It will be because I want to. With someone I trust." He swallowed hard. "Sarila," she nodded. "I'm not asking for anything now. I just want you to know, I don't feel like a weapon anymore. Or a prisoner." She took a breath. "I feel like a woman. And that is because of you." Rylan gently took her hand. "And I feel like a better man. Because of you." They stood together in the quiet ship, not as captive and savior, not as soldier and pilot, but as two souls healing together. That night, Sarila slept in the bunk next to him. Not out of fear, not out of need, but by choice. And for the first time in her life, she dreamed of a future she could build with her own hands. A choice of her own. Sarila stood alone in the ship's hold, staring at the stars through the side window. The galaxy had always felt like a prison to her, cold, vast, and full of cages she couldn't see until it was too late. But now, it felt different. Now it felt open. Rylan had gone outside to trade supplies at a quiet station. Sarila had chosen to stay on board, not out of fear, but because she needed time to think. For the first time in her life, no one was deciding for her. She walked slowly through the cargo bay, the same place she had once been locked in a crate, chained, silent, ready to be sold. She stood in front of the very spot and knelt down. Her fingers touched the floor. "I used to believe this was the end of my story," she whispered. But it was the beginning. Rylan returned later with a few bags of food and some repair parts. As he stepped inside, he found her sitting on the floor, calm but focused. "Everything all right?" he asked. She nodded. "I was remembering." He sat beside her. "Good or bad?" "Both," she said. "But mostly, I was thinking about the future." She turned to face him. "I know what they wanted from me. Strong children. Strong blood. A body made for war. I hated it. I still do." He listened quietly. "But now," she continued, "if I give life, if I choose to carry a child, I want it to be because I wanted it, with someone who would love me, not command me." She placed her hand gently on his chest. "With someone like you." Rylan's eyes softened. "Are you sure?" "No," she said with a soft smile. "But I'm not afraid to find out." They didn't rush. They didn't force. There was no command, no pressure, just silence and trust. Later, Sarila told him something he hadn't heard before. "My kind, Harati females, are only fertile once, every cycle. It's sacred. Our choice matters." "And your choice now?" he asked. She took his hand. "If it happens, it happens. I don't offer my body because it's strong. I offer my heart because you made it feel alive." Rylan didn't speak. He didn't have to. He leaned forward, resting his forehead against hers. Two different beings, two broken pasts, but one moment that felt whole. The next morning, the ship drifted toward a green planet for repairs. Sarila walked confidently beside, Rylan wearing a new robe he'd gifted her. deep blue, soft fabric. Her golden skin shimmered in the light. Locals turned to stare, but not because she was a slave, because she looked powerful, proud, free. One trader leaned over to Rylan and whispered, "That woman with you, is she really Harati?" "She's more than that," Rylan replied. "She's mine." Sarila heard him and smiled. Later that evening, while watching the sun set behind a mountain ridge, she said softly, "I never thought a cage could become a ship, or a captor could become my home." He looked at her. "And now?" "Now I know I belong where I choose to be. And where's that?" She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Here. With you. Strong children. Stronger." Love, a soft wind blew through the tall green grass of the quiet valley. The sky above was golden orange, filled with birds gliding in slow circles. Rylan's ship rested at the edge of a forest clearing, its metal surface catching the last rays of light. Inside a small house built by hand by both of them, Sarila sat on a woven blanket, her hand resting gently on her stomach. A soft, steady heartbeat pulsed beneath her fingers. Life. Not forced, not stolen, not taken, given, chosen, created by love. Rylan entered quietly, brushing dust from his hands. He had been working on the garden again. When he saw her smile, he stopped and stared. "You're glowing again," he said softly. "I always glow," she teased. "Not like this." He knelt beside her and placed his palm on hers over the tiny heartbeat. "This is real?" he asked. Sarila nodded. "Yes." She saw the emotion in his eyes. He was a man who had flown through fire, dodged bullets, escaped systems ruled by greed. But this moment made him speechless. "You're going to be a father," she whispered. "I never thought I would be," he said. "Not like this. Not in a way that feels perfect." Sarila looked around the room. There were no chains here, no locks, just warmth, quiet, safety. "I used to believe I was nothing more than a tool," she said. "Something to be sold. Something strong, yes, but not worthy of love." She looked at him. "But you saw more." "I saw you," Rylan replied. They sat in silence for a while. The sun dipped lower. A fire crackled gently nearby. Sarila spoke again, softer this time. "They said I was built for war. My bones, my blood, my body, all strong, but you made me see." She turned toward him fully. "That the strongest thing I could ever be is free. Free to choose. Free to love. Free to build a future." Rylan smiled. "You'll be a fierce mother. And you'll be a soft-hearted father." She laughed. Outside, the sky filled with stars. They stepped onto the porch together. Sarila leaned against him, his arm around her waist. She whispered, "Do you think others like me are still out there, still locked up, waiting for someone to care?" "Yes," he said. "Too many." She nodded slowly. "Then we won't stop. Not after this child. Not after peace. We'll keep flying. Keep helping." "You're serious?" he asked. "Completely." Rylan looked at her, this glowing golden warrior with a future in her hands and fire in her heart. He kissed her forehead. "Then we fly together. You, me, and this little heartbeat." They walked back inside, their shadows long under the moonlight, and somewhere far away in a hidden station, a buyer opened an old file labeled Asset Number 308. Sold. But what he didn't know was this. Asset Number 308 had become something they could never control. She had become a mother, a mate, and a force no chain could ever hold again.